Be terrible for our reviewers. And we are live. Hi, Chastain, and hi, Kathy.
Hello.
Hello.
So we are meeting today, ladies, to work on our very first team project. And the purpose of this meeting is to share the effective teamwork strategies that each of us came up with in our discussion preparation template. And the end result would be to develop a list of 10 common norms for effective teamwork that we agree to follow throughout our work together on this project. So do we all understand the purpose of this meeting?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So how do you guys want to get started? Do you just want to go around and each share an idea? I can capture what we come up with. Or do you just what do you guys want to do?
I'm good with taking turns.
Okay.
So do you guys want us, are we starting with the teamwork strategies? So the second box on the discussion preparation? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to go first?
Might as well, Chastain. Thank you for volunteering.
So for me, I put for teamwork strategies, I think that establishing norms and expectations is extremely important. Without expectations, there's really no framework for the team. So no one really understands what the areas of focus are and what you as a leader want from them. I also think that a clear decision-making process is important, because if you are not clear on where the decisions are falling or who kind of has the final word, if it's one person or three, that can cause some unnecessary conflict. And then along with that, managing that team conflict, I feel, is also an important strategy that you need to keep in mind. You want to manage it proactively so that it doesn't end up turning into a bigger issue within the team.
Oh, I like those ideas. Kathy, do you have any feedback on those 3 ideas?
Well, she took 3 of my ideas.
Great mind.
Exactly, great minds. I also had that the team needs to be interdependent. They need to be able to rely on each other, not only to work well and listen, but to, promote ideas so that it's not just one person's point of view. Also have to have motivation. Like I said, I had establishing norms and decision making, and then having the clear goals. I mean, what's the team's ultimate goal? I mean, a team is temporary. You have an end point. What is that end point?
So I'm listening to your list and I'm thinking you guys totally stole all of my ideas. I don't know how you got a copy of my list, but you did. So I actually had not only to add to the goals that you mentioned earlier, Kathy, but that there are teams also committed to attaining those goals. Because I think it's one thing to understand what the goal or the objective is, but it's another thing to really understand or be committed rather to achieving them. So I'm not sure if that would be an additional, team norm, or if it would be all a part of that, but so that would be commitment to attaining goals.
Right.
Sorry, and I'm just writing because I didn't want to be typing in the background and have that be the background noise for a meeting.
Yes.
Okay, and the next one I had is communication, making sure that it's open, honest, and respectful. I just think that's huge for any team to be able to communicate with each other. One of the things I remember from a previous team that I was on, we were proud of the fact that we could argue with each other, fight with each other, disagree, and at the end of the day, we all respected that we had a different opinion. we came to a consensus or mutual understanding. And I just think that's so huge to really making a team work. And then I also had creativity, being innovative and accepting all different viewpoints, and not just being the expectation. You know, not everybody's going to see things the same way as everyone. And then the last one I have to pick through my list here. Members of the team making high quality decisions together. So Chase, you mentioned the clear decision-making process. I think mine was more along the lines of, you know, understanding that this is how we come to a decision. So that might be the same thing, and it might not be.
Well, I mean, we know that we agree on it, because it is really similar. So, I mean, I think it's an important part of a discussion. Expectations, all of those things kind of roll into one, is knowing, you know, what is the process to make decisions, whether it's one person, 3 people, 5 people, majority, consensus. So I think it's an important point.
I agree.
Good point, ladies. So is that maybe more along the lines of the team being cohesive? Is that the right word that I'm looking for? It's not just about knowing how to make the decisions, but it coming to a consensus, working together to make the decision.
Well, I don't know that necessarily we need a consensus, as long as it's very clear how the team makes the decision. I mean, if we're waiting for everybody to agree, you know, eventually it's not going to happen. But if everybody understands that, you know, this team is working on a majority rules, and if you're in the minority, you may not like the decision, but at least the decision has been made. And going along with the communication, you know, if you're respectfully listening to everybody else's point of view, you may not agree with the decision, but you know why it was made.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Kathy, and I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm pretty opinionated, but if I know what the expectation is up front, and I think that's probably the most important part, is if my leader says to me, listen, you know, today, all 3 of you, this is an extremely important decision, so we want to make sure that you all agree, then we probably all need to agree. If it's consensus, and it's going to impact us, but, you know, it doesn't have to do with maybe your raise. You know, maybe Kathy and I agree and Mary and you disagree, but you can walk away from it understanding where we came from. Or maybe it's, you know, Marian, you're the boss today. You get to be the one that makes the decision. For me, as long as I understand kind of what the final decision is, yeah. I can give my opinion and my point of view and discuss it, but I would be okay with that.
Right. And I think that, just kind of expanding that point, is if decisions are made differently every single time, then, you know, it's chaos. I mean, you know, sometimes Mir's the boss and she makes the decision, and sometimes we all have to agree. If you're on a team, they should be made the same every time. You know what it takes to make the decision.
Right. Yeah, and I think it depends on the people. So, for instance, you know, if it's an ops team where, you know, the individuals are kind of production and they're just following procedures that, you know, maybe there's not the ability or the responsibility to make those decisions, so maybe the leader makes them. Whereas if it's a team of professional individuals that are, you know, all greatly impacted by it. So, yeah, I just think there's a ton of variables, which I guess is the reason why we all agree that it's an important strategy.
It is pretty huge. So that said, I want to cover I think we have 9 norms. So we need to come up with one more. So I just want to recap what we have so far, and then we can kind of work together as a team to see what we think that 10th one should be. So from Chastain, we had establishing norms and expectations, which I think is huge. clear decision-making process, and to that, everybody understanding what that process is and realizing that it doesn't always have to be a group decision as long as it's made in the best interest, business needs, whatever the case may be. And then we also, from Chastain, we had managing team conflict proactively. So getting ahead of the problems before they become an even bigger problem. From Kathy, we had team working well together and promoting ideas, being interdependent of each other. We had motivation, clear understanding of goals. I added, in addition to that, this would be the 7th, so commitment to attain the goals. Communication, we all agree, is super huge, open, honest, clear communication. And then also bringing to the table some creativity, bringing new ideas, fresh ideas, different perspectives to the team. So we need to come up with one more.
So what about, and I'm not exactly sure if this is kind of encompassed in some of the other ones, but what about just flat out communication?
That is one of them.
Okay.
Right. What about adherence to deadlines?
Ooh.
I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff, but if somebody turns stuff late in or not at all,
yeah.
I mean, that breaks down the team.
Mm-hmm. I agree. If there's, especially if there's multiple pieces of the project. So, one of us has the first part, the second, if you're late with the first part, you're delayed the second and the third as well. So I agree.
I think that's a really good point. And it kind of makes me, when I hear that, I almost, my brain translates that into trust.
Mm-hmm.
Do you trust the people on your team to deliver?
Yeah.
Agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Without trust, it's a little difficult. I mean, trust kind of, because my brain starts processing, without that trust, then how can you trust someone else to make a decision for you? How can you trust someone to manage conflict? How can you trust someone if they lay out their expectations and you don't trust them? Well, who cares what their expectations are? So yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I can throw out here for us to consider. What about leadership?
That was actually on my list, but I had written down the share the leadership role.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, different people have different skills in leadership, and we all follow Mir. We might.
As well, you should.
Walk off the cliff.
But people on a team, if you leave a team for, a certain amount of time, they may grow to resent and not take into account how hard it is to lead a team.
Absolutely.
Fresh perspective.
It always helps.
Mm-hmm.
So if I could actually be so bold, I'd like to recommend that our 10th one, just knowing the conversations that we've had and our personal goals with working on this project, I think adherence to deadlines should be our 10th. What do you guys think about that? I see you nodding your heads.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do you want us to talk?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was Kathy's suggestion. So clearly, she thinks it's a good idea. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if any team doesn't adhere to deadlines, there's going to be a breakdown, and like I said, that's going to cause conflict and other issues. So it's a really important strategy to keep in mind, is that you need to make sure that everyone's adhering to the goals, deadlines, whatever the case may be.
All right. So I think we have our 10. So yes, we did it. So I do want to capture just next steps really quick. I will go ahead and fill out the sheet with our 10 norms, as well as add any notes, add who, I can't think of the word, who came up with the idea. And then I will try to get those done within the next 24 hours to finalize the submission for our team project. Do you guys trust me to submit, or do you want to review it before I submit?
I trust you to submit.
Oh, thanks, Kathy.
Ditto. We have to
All
be an effective team, so we have to trust
do.
each
We
other.
So I will get everything done. I'll get, the team project submitted within 24 hours, and then that way you guys ladies can move forward and submit what you need to. So I think that's a wrap. So thank you, ladies, for meeting with me today, and we'll see what happens.
Excellent.
Bye,
Thanks,
ladies.
ladies.